versus Bomber. Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Okay, okay, so we have the wall off. Going to go down here for Bomber. Jaedong currently 1 game up. Ooh, could get scary. And he's going for a little bit of a drone scout very, very quickly to see exactly what Bomber's going to throw at him very early on. Now, it looks also like he's just trying to make sure that he's not going to get proxied, as that did go quite the direction. So he wants to touch the... definitely wants to touch the Zelnaga tower and then move straight on past that. But for now, it looks as if Bomber actually wants to go command center first. Or he did there for a second at least. Yeah, so again, I can't see SCVs queued up in this command center, but it looks like he's going to go for command center first here against Jaedong. And we all know Bomber for his TVZ. If you reflect back to how Bomber was playing during things like Red Bull Battlegrounds and the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore, mostly against Scarlet, a lot of heavy parade pushes from Bomber. Maybe we'll see a different Bomber. Maybe we'll see a mech Bomber. I'm not willing to believe that we would see a mech Bomber. Whenever I think Bomber, I always think Bio. But for now, Jaedong is being annoying with that drone, trying to harass away with it, and that SCV does shoo it away for now. Back home though, Jaedong has a hatchery going down as well as spawning pool. So not too much craziness going on from either of these, even the refinery being added on just so that he can get that Reaper out whenever he wants to. And the second SCV, or third SCV in this little cluster comes back to make sure that this drone does get shooed away. So, where are you going, SCV? Very, very weird direction there for a second. It's because he actually had the supply depot raised, but this drone almost gets himself killed. He has to be careful. 2 more hits and you would be kaput. But anyway. So, we see that the gas is actually being saved up for something that isn't a Reaper. So he's just going to go straight up to factory very, very quickly with this and just use the Marines for a little bit of defense. The thing is that if you're going to go command center first, committing gas to a Reaper is a bit luxurious. You can't really get a whole lot done with it. By the time you've finished your command center first and got a Reaper out across the map, there's going to be Queens out. And Zergling's already there to buy time, even if the Queens are out anyway. So it's a little bit hard to really make work. Oh, wow, actually. Okay, so gonna decide to go for a command center before the factory goes down. But there we go. It is on the way along with the reactor as well. So triple CC nice and early here for Bomber. And meanwhile, how are we going to see Mr. Jaedong react to this? I mean, he's still command center first anyway, so now he's feeling a little bit more comfortable to work on these rocks really, really aggressively. If he hadn't have seen command center first, then there was no real reason why he would be able to bring that second queen down from the main to then start working on those rocks. So very, very quick, to the point, trying to get access to his third base properly. So that you can play into the macro here. We do have that tech lab being added on in the barracks as well. So I'm going to switch over for that. That's slightly out of place. Ah! 1 down. He's not building. Okay, there we go. So that does hurt a little. Those Hellions are going to be slightly slower here for Bomber, as he only had one in production for a little while there whilst he was doing everything else. And behind all of this, Jaedong grabs himself double evolution chamber. It's going to be nice to block off against these Hellions that are going to be slightly delayed again. So there's small knock-on effects here that are really hurting Bomber. Not really the most amazing of positions. Now we have 1-1 on the way, melee upgrades. And those 2 Hellions are moving across the map. I keep trying to press follow, but it's never working for me. I don't know why. But good creep spread so far from Jaedong. Good creep spread, not only being able to extend out beyond the perimeters of the third base and then eventually connect those up. But they're also pushing through the middle quite aggressively as well. Up to 6 queens right now. So we'll transfer one of those back to the third eventually once it gets up and use 3 queens to continue that spread. And against a player like Bomber, the further that you can get the creep, the better. Because he is so well known for that parade push, and as you can see here, just adding on more barracks. I was very apprehensive as to if we were going to see a mech style from Bomber, and it's certainly not going to be the case. So he's just going to go for parade style, as he always does. And whether that's going to work against Jaedong here, we shall see. Lings, Bane, and Muta will be Jaedong's choice of weapon. And he's even breaking down the rocks here to claim himself a 4th base. So Jaedong has gone so uncontested in these earlier stages of the game because he's scouted out the command center first, because he knew that there weren't going to be Reapers along, because the Hellions really didn't do anything as they had a slight delay on them from a small mistake there by Bomber. But Bomber is trying to compensate for that. He's getting himself his 3rd base up as quickly as possible. He wants to break down these rocks so he can transfer on, get himself up to a nice set of SCVs, and then from that point on, have his 1-1 flourishing behind all of this in double engineering bays. But the upgrades are almost always going to be ahead for Jaedong, especially if he keeps doing this. I think that the creep here is going to buy him, if he keeps going like this, it's going to buy him so much time that he might even find a very quick way to get up to Hive. Normally, in this situation as a Zerg, you don't feel like you can get up to Hive that quickly and then get, 3-3, because your opponent has such easy access to your bases. And actually, now that I say that, though, Bomber is clearing up some of this, and he's clearing it up faster than I was anticipating him moving out. So this should be able to slow that progression down just a little bit of Jaedong feeling comfortable. But as you can see, killing off a lot of the active creep tumors, doing a really, really good job of that. But at the same time, Link's going to move on forward. Centrifugal Hooks is not done just yet, but the Zerglings get a great wraparound on a lot of this, and he has to lift up and run away for now. Oh, but those Banelings get great connections. And that Widowmine, not so much. So, 2 more Widowmines in production here. Lots of Lings going down here for Jaedong. Jaedong looking comfortable, and he actually found Lings into his opponent's main as well. Just a few. Get himself 6 worker kills. But also Banelings heading over to the 3rd base. Uh-oh, this could be really bad here for Bomber. Those 2 Widowmines. Be champions. Gods of the arena. Be gods. But there's a lot of Lings and Banes also on the way. And noticeably, he still doesn't actually have the Mutalist transition on the way. He's just going pure Ling Bane here. And it's working out all right for him. Not too bad a split. One of those Marauders soaked up 1 or 2 of those Banelings, but in the end, the Banelings didn't really work out. He actually traded quite a bit there. Bomber held on strong, but the Lings, if they can get the surround, he needs to lift up. Everything does Bomber. Morphing in Banelings right next to all of this. Oh, that 1 Widowmine, 10 kills on that. And the Lings continue to stream on 4th. Okay. I asked Classic what his Twitter was, so that is the reason for that. So, there you go. There's Classic's Twitter. Go follow him, guys. Let's see if we can get him a lot of followers. But meanwhile, all the SCVs had to come off the line to combat all of these Lings and Banelings back. Mules will get dropped, so you can continue on with that. And look at the supplies. I mean, Bomber has held on pretty strongly during all of this. Unit counts. We have still a lot of Marines rallied out here, good to go. Plus 2-2 will finish in a little bit. But a lot of the gas that we saw there expended into those Banelings could have been directed towards the Spire a little bit quicker and trying to hold Bomber back in that regard. I'm not sure that all of those Banelings really paid for themselves in terms of the gas investment, but now he goes for the run around once again with these Lings. A ton of Bomber's army is out in the middle of the field, no man's land, as it does try and push on forwards to the 4th base, and all the SCVs actually leave the 3rd base as he separated a few Lings off over there. 5 kills, 2 kills on those Widowmines. Meanwhile, though, Bomber pressing his advantage over at the 3rd base. How much will he be able to get done? Bomber actually has a supply lead here, and an army advantage, quite significant. Needs to pick up, though, and get away from those Banelings, and indeed he will end up doing. Those Banelings can't quite easily chase onto that 4th base, but he's still going to have to force the pickup in a second here, as those Lings try and get the wraparound once again. Still Lings being pesky at this 3rd base, but the Bomber is never stopping. And also, the Spire is actually quite vulnerable. If he stims and actually focuses that down, maybe he can get it, but that's a lot of Lings coming in from the side, and he will be able to get the Spire. A good pickup. All in all, though, there are around 15 Mutalisks going to be out in just a little bit. Another Spire has to start, but that's a long time it takes to actually build it. Placing it at the 3rd base is a bit of an oversight there by Jaedong. Leaves it a bit more vulnerable to bases that are more likely to be attacked by Bomber, as they are the more vital mining bases. Especially since they're also closer towards the rally points that Bomber has set when it comes to his notorious parade push. But for now, another Spire's going down, noticeably in the main. Wants to keep that a bit more healthy, a bit more alive. That's always so important, but he has to be careful about Banelings. Some of those Banelings did connect on Marauders, though, as the split did occur with those Marines all the way down to the back. And despite Jaedong's great efforts to spread the creep across the other side of the map, Bomber has somehow, some way, been able to subside that kind of torrent of creep tumors that we've seen previously. And now it's only really getting okay spread on the right-hand side. Not too bad on the left, but in the middle, it's certainly been shut down. Bomber now 103 army supply against 76. Plus 3 without the second 3 is on the way here for Bomber. He could start his army. He has the gas available to him to do so, but at the same time, his 3rd base is constantly being forced to cease operations. So that is always a bit of a hindrance here to him. He's going to try and go for the surround, though, on either side. What a huge surround as he tries to catch a lot of this in there. He loads up with the medevacs to get out, but a big, big surround attempt there for Jaedong, and it was fantastically executed as the Mutalisks will also fly in and get a few of those medevacs. Has to fall back, though, as the Marines get dropped down to push them away. So for now, Lings and Bane's just going to chill out, just going to sit around and not do a whole lot, whilst Bomber continues the parade push. +3 weapons is about to finish here for Bomber. It's a little ways off, but it'll finish in good time, as these 2 Widowmines place themselves wonderfully to zone out from that 4th location. It puts the Marauders at the front, meaning that those Banelings can't quite easily just A-move into this army. Good separation of Marines as well, trying to hold this at bay, whilst all of the Zerglings have melted. That leaves the Mutalists vulnerable, and Bomber presses his advantage at the 4th base, still constantly rallying Marines after Marines across to this location. That 1 Widowmine at the back isn't able to get any detonations, maybe just a few Zerglings at the back. But the Banelings don't do the job they need to do, as Bomber now takes a little bit of supply advantage. There was a small counterattack over at the 3rd base for Jaedong with a few Lings to try and kill off some SCVs once again. But as you can see, the supply advantages now are almost always in favor of Bomber. Not only that, but we're down to 4 Mutalisks. That puts a real halt on being able to kill any more medevacs apart from that one, as long as the bioforces remain there to be able to hold steadfast. The last 4 Mutalisks end up falling so rapidly to those Marines. And now a lot of trouble here for Jaedong in game number 2. Remember, Jaedong currently 1 game up in this best of 3, so if it goes to that 1-1 scenario, I'm a happy chap, as we get another game between Jaedong and Bomber. All right, so he stims up, looking to take out this 4th base. Almost certainly going to fall unless Jaedong has some kind of answer to it. He has Lings trying to intercept some of the reinforcements, but the army supplies are way too in favor of Bomber here. 103 to 39. Jaedong is going to fall here in game number 2 unless somehow, some way he gets great Baneling detonations on these armies. Doesn't have access to Burrow, I don't think. But regardless, this next base is absolutely obliterated. A few Banelings do roll in, but it's not really going to be enough. Zerglings, Mutalisks, and Banelings now try and swarm on in. Once again, kill off a lot of the bio on the low ground, but the high ground bio just never, ever ceases. There you go, GG.